like in summary, my understanding of the neck is that the 7 vertebrae of the neck correspond simply to the 7 chakras. And just to define the chakras a little bit, if you think about the 3 dantian, do they teach the 3 dantian in acupuncture school? Any acupuncture students ever heard about that?
I mentioned it.
They
They
do.
mentioned
A little bit. If you take the medical qigong, you
Oh,
talk
right,
about
talk
it.
about 3
but-
dantian, yeah. So the 3 dantian are essentially the 3 places where consciousness is embodied in the human system. There's the head, which is the upper dantian, which represents mind-identified consciousness. There's the belly, which is the lower dantian, which represents body-identified consciousness. And then there's the chest, which is the middle dantian, which represents non-identified consciousness. And each of these, the dantian house those aspects of consciousness, actually contain them. So if we think about the 3 dantian, then we think about the gates above and below the 3 dantian. And those gates represent the 7 chakras. So we've got the lower dantian, which would represent the 2nd chakra, and the gate below the lower dantian is the 1st chakra. The gate between the lower and the middle dantian represents the 3rd chakra. The middle dantian represents the 4th chakra. The gate between the middle and the upper dantian represents the 5th chakra. Right? The upper dantian is the 6th chakra, and then above the upper dantian is the 7th chakra. Right? So it's just a simple anatomical and energetic way of distinguishing this idea of chakras. Chakra means wheel. I think it means like a chariot wheel. And the idea of the chakras is these wheels of energy, but you can use the chakra system relative to the cervical spine, the spine of the neck, to identify which zone of the body has an emotional and maybe a corresponding physical sense of blockage. So that's my idea. That's not in any Chinese medicine that I've ever seen. So when I'm palpating the neck, I'm interested in seeing where is the vertebral misalignment and where's the congestion, where's the blockage. Now, what I'm finding right here at around C5 is a crunchy spot. You can feel that, right, Rosa?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it okay? Is it painful?
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
just, it's there.
It's there. Now you let me know, Rosa, if I'm causing you too much pain as I'm going along here.
Okay.
So I'm just using my index finger to isolate that, locate it, and feel it. And I'm often sending people to chiropractors when I think it's necessary. And I do certain things to mobilize the vertebrae from Chinese massage, but I'm not really expert at it. And so I do like to refer to chiropractors sometimes if I feel like something's really blocked. I'm feeling like, I'm feeling like there's a rotation here. Actually, now it's looking like the rotation is at C4, and the crunchiness was at C5. So C4 would make me think about her heart chakra, right? And I'm seeing a clear rotation to the right of the spinous process. And of course, can you then look at the transverse processes of the neck in relation to that too. But that immediately is just alerting me to the fact that she might be under emotional stress, or that might be constitutional for her. Maybe she's often under like a sense of like heart stress, or there might be a physical heart condition that relates to this imbalance at C4. Did you ever have a heart problem physically?
Yes.
Oh, like what?
I had rheumatic fever that went to my heart.
Oh, you had rheumatic fever that went to the heart. Okay, so like knowing that might make me like much more clued into really physically working on the heart, and maybe sending her to a chiropractor to get this adjusted too. Right? It could be much more critical at that point. But I'm also I'm also going to be cognizant of the fact that it's probably also emotional as well as physical, and sort of work on her heart channel and to talk about emotional processes and so on. The same misalignment continues up towards C3 a little bit, which I'm thinking of as throat chakra. So now I'm thinking heart chakra, throat chakra. She's had rheumatic heart fever as a child, and she may have issues sometimes where she has to work through issues around self-expression. Or do you ever get sore throats or strep throat?
Yeah, I had strep throat. Yeah.
So this is getting easy. Okay, so it's C4 and C3 that I'm most concerned about. There was a little crunchy at C5. They both sort of feel like they're rotated a little bit to the right. And you know, Rosa, I'm going to suggest you go to a chiropractor.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to refer to Michael Quinn because I think he's amazing. Do you guys know him from Santa Cruz?
No.
Michael Quinn.
The name rings a bell.
Q-U-I-N-N.
She's already been here, remember?
Yeah.
Oh.
But not for her
I
neck, for
thought
her
it
other
was-
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was for the
Ankle.
some foot stuff, right?
Mhm.
You might want to consider, or you know, somebody else, or just you know, somebody who you know from osteopathy school and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, just have somebody do some work on your neck.
Okay.
So that's like a brief thing. There's a lot more about the neck, but I'll get into that a little bit more after lunch. So now I'm going to palpate the thoracic spine, and so of course I'm going to start up here. And who doesn't have sore stuff up here, right? It's like that L5 thing. It's just a human thing. Everybody's going to be a bit sore here because we're all trying to get vertical. And so there's a little song. Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Not too strong?
No.
Okay, there's a little bit more oil. So and I started off doing massage therapy before I did acupuncture for quite a long time. So I do like massage therapy. And I also think that people like it. It's good for people. So I'm using a fair amount of pressure. And essentially what I'm doing is I'm going back and forth across the back shoe point line. I'm going back and forth across the paraspinal muscles, and I'm just kind of exploring. So let me talk a little bit about C7, T1, and what's going on here. Because I didn't really get into this fully. Now, you notice on the chart, we're talking about T3 in the lung, and then maybe above that is Yang Ming. This is all metal stuff, right? It's all metal connection, air, breathing, and lungs, and so on. But I have another idea about this, which is it's also has to do with bones, because metal is crystallization, and there's interrelationship between metal and water and bones and structure, I think, is important. So, so there's a lot of structural stuff here. And of course, Chinese medicine talks about that very directly, because we have at T1, we've got the influential point of the bones, right? So, oh, and let me talk a little bit about location tricks for the thoracic spine. So on most people, unless they've done competitive swimming for 10 years, very often on swimmers this doesn't work, but on most people this does work. If you just bring the shoulder back a little bit, typically the acromion, if you draw a straight line across from the acromion, you're generally going to land at T1. Not always, but normally. And if you go down to gallbladder 21, pull that one down together, there, and you go straight across, you're generally going to land at C7, right? That's just an easy, quick way to eyeball what you're doing when you're working with the neck. So there's a tremendous number of points around here that reflect structure. So starting with T1, let's see if I agree that that's T1. I think that's T1. Starting with T1, we've got bladder 11, the influential point of bone. And then if we come in from bladder 11, the influential point of bone, I'm not finding anything particularly interesting. I think she's fine. We've got governor vessel 13, right at the lower border of T1. Governor vessel 13 is Tao Dao. Tao Dao means the way of pottery, or the way of the potter, or the way of happiness, as it's modernly often translated. But I think the pottery reference and the kiln reference are more interesting, because we're looking a lot at structure here.